That's my general perception. Right, Jen?
Right.
If you don't come to a town hall, you must have had it. I know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're live. Okay, that's fine. So right now, this is a village mayor meeting. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 village mayors. Anybody?
Yeah.
Hi, I understand we're live now. Oh, that's better. Doing all right? Better times there. Look at that.
It's a very deep chair. Not so much. Sure.
Everybody come down front. Even you guys come down here. I don't want to yell. Come on, way down front, except for these where they barricaded this off. But come down the sides and come forward. There's no sense. I mean, we'll make this intimate. We have much more. We have approximately 28 people online, and I think we have what seems to me like village mayors only in here right now. So I'm going to take this way. When nobody shows up to a town hall, it means that all of the folks that are here, the employees here, are doing amazing work. If things really sucked, and I apologize for my language, but if things really sucked, this place would be full of people. So, just wanted to get that out there. For those gathered here in the auditorium and those online, I'm Colonel Joe Messina. I'm the Garrison Commander, and I'm honored to be the Garrison Commander. An amazing experience so far for my first 3 months. And I'm glad to be here and take the time to hopefully answer some of your questions, maybe alleviate some of your concerns, and then provide some information on some of the things that we here, the Garrison, for those of you online, you can't see, but there are literally 4 mayors here, and we're going to thank them profusely, first of all, for all they do for you out in the community. But other than that, I probably have somewhere in the vicinity of 25, 35, what do you think? Folks here that are just here to answer questions and support you, the tenants and the people of the Garrison. So if you were here for my change of command or listened online, you understood that my biggest priority is taking the Army's philosophy of people first and actually operationalizing that. And what does that mean? It means that legitimately the community, the people that are here, are the most important resource we have, and that every decision I make, we will take into consideration how it affects you, the people of the Garrison. So I have lots of long notes here. I do want to make every effort to finish this at 19:30. Hopefully some more folks will come in and we'll answer as many questions as we can. I'm looking to my left, your right probably, because our online folks will be asking questions and I'll be getting those from my left-hand side. I will try to finish by 19:31 to respect your time, and two, also to respect all the time of all the employees, civilian and military employees that are here for this evening. I will ask for those of you here in the audience that you ask questions and those online that you are respectful. If you have a personal question or you're, something that affects only you, and this for the folks in here, we'll provide you with a 3x5 card. You can write it down if it's an issue that is pertaining to just you. But if you have a greater question, something that affects more people, please, by all means, go ahead and ask the question. This forum does not preclude you from using the normal processes when you have an issue. Whether that's through your chain of command and you have a soldier issue or a family issue that your chain of command is supposed to be taking care of, and we're thankful that our Villages partners are here tonight, or using their processes that are in place currently. So I ask that you continue to use those processes. They've gotten better in the time that I've been here, not because of me, but because of the efforts of the Villages and their team. And I ask you to continue to utilize those. When you do have an issue that you're not getting a response from, or you think needs to be elevated, one, always talk to your chain of command. Two, we have an ombudsperson that is my representative in the community. Please reach out to Ms. Luster. And then finally, I strongly, we're going to go over who your village mayors are. I'm primarily talking to the camera because there are, I think, 4 village mayors here. I saw 1, 2, 3. Where's the other? Where'd it go? There you are. You're kind of camouflaged over there. But I ask that you talk to them, communicate with them. They sit down with me. They are amazing advocates for everything housing related in your community, in your village. These folks are dedicated, they're passionate, and I appreciate their passion, and they are absolutely advocating for you on a daily basis. And they get frustrated with me when I am not responsive and when I don't get done the things that they want done. So please talk to your village mayors. We're going to put up a slide on who they are. And if you don't have a village mayor, we have a few vacancies, I strongly recommend or advise or ask that you volunteer to be the village mayor in your community. It is an amazing direct touch point with the garrison commander and the garrison command team for all issues related to the garrison. Thank you for those who participated in our Facebook poll and submitted questions online. You can submit your questions directly through the Facebook Town Hall events page with the hashtag #AskBelvoir. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. For those of you that are here, if you have a question, please just jump up to raise your hand. We'll pick whoever is up next, and then we'll go to the microphone, please. If we're not able to answer a question, and we don't have all the answers, if we're not able to answer a question tonight, we will take a note, we will answer all the questions and publish those. Am I saying this right? That we will publish all of the answers to the questions that we can by Tuesday. So we're tasking ourselves to get you responses by Tuesday. With all of that, I'm going to, I think, sit down. I could be wrong. I apologize. Let's go over the folks that are here tonight. The Command Sergeant Major Dan Hopkins, our Villages partner Zach Allen, our housing ombudsperson who is off camera somewhere. Where are you, Alicia? She's up there, Alicia Luster. Are we able to pan the camera to our folks that I'm talking about? I don't know if we can do that. Bear with us. This might be a little bit rough. Alicia Luster. We have our Director of Emergency Services. Raise your hand over there. Boyd Hodges. Emergency Services is your police, your fire, your gate guards. And then we have our Director of MWR, George Dixon. And then, go ahead, stand up real quick so we get the camera on you. We have Bill. Bill from DECA. What's your last name, Bill?
Roger.
Bill Rogers? Roger. If you don't know, Bill Rogers was a famous runner in the Boston Marathon. And then we have all kinds. The Deputy Garrison Commander is here. We have all kinds of folks here just to answer your questions, including representatives from the villages and their parents. And then closing. So I'm going to sit down and we're going to go through some slides, and I hope you can see them on the screen. I have no idea what's behind me. So we passed that. The things we're going to do tonight, do I need the microphone? Can the people online hear me? We're going to give a housing update from the Sergeant Major, our partner from the villages, ombudsperson. We're going to identify and highlight the mayors. The Director of Emergency Services will provide an update. Morale, Welfare, Recreation will provide an update. And then we'll talk a little bit about the way ahead, some of the things that we're doing, and then I'll provide closing remarks. So let's get to it. Next slide, please.
Hey, good evening, Fort Belvoir. If you haven't received an email yet, the Army Housing Tenant Satisfaction Survey is out. This is a DoD initiative to solicit your feedback on how housing is performing, the conditions, and any other concerns you may or may not have. It includes positive feedback as well, things that they're doing well. So if you haven't, I will get with PAO so we can post the email in order for you to reach out to get the slide. Your feedback does matter. I can say, based on last year's feedback, I think the partner has transitioned to a new landscaping company through that feedback. So if you get a chance, please take that survey. The last day is December 16th. We are currently at 25.5% response rate. That means 500 surveys have been submitted out of like 1,900. Next slide. All right. So some positive progress from the last town hall, if you will. We have onboarded 2 industrial hygienists from our safety office. We have Phil Goff and Cherie Smith. They have been onboarded and they help with the process through with remediation for both the facilities on post as well as the villages at Belvoir. And then we are currently, the housing office is in the process of hiring a housing manager and 3-term QA inspectors to help with the work orders, follow up, and meet our requirements. And then we have the levels of escalation. Each mayor has this graphic. We post it from time to time. So the first one is going through the villages on our end. Then we have the management. They have their own hotline phone. And then you can contact the ombudsman as your 3rd level.
Hey everybody, so we also have layers of escalation, and there is an infographic on the right side of this slide. It's sent out now and then through the one-call system, and all the mayors were recently provided again after our most recent mayor's meeting. Initially, anything to do with maintenance, you're going to want to start with the 24-hour hotline for anything emergency or urgent. And then there's also the office number for the maintenance office there below that. That's open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you're not getting what you need there, or if you feel like you've not been heard, the next step would be to reach out to your community manager. Each community manager's email is listed below, and the various neighborhoods have shared community managers. So take a look at that, see who your community manager is. It's always good to get to know them. They can really help move things along if you're having any challenges. We've also set up a 24/7 hotline. One of our community managers carries that at all times, and that's as a response to any type of maintenance issues after hours or on the weekends. If you're not getting a response from the 24-hour maintenance line, if anything needs escalated, you can reach out to them. And below that, steps 4 and 5 are going to be our assistant community director, Kim Saraglu, and our community director, Jennifer Watkins. Both of their phone numbers are listed there directly on the infographic. Those are their office lines, but if you leave a message, it directly sends an email with the voicemail attached. So they will respond and already have a heads up to what's going on. Additionally, we have onboarded a new resident engagement specialist, Jordan Cummings. Her email is listed there. She will be dealing and helping with any families that are displaced. She will be the central point of contact and able to answer any questions and provide updates for anything that you need. Slide. Yeah. So we wanted to touch on a couple of the initiatives that we're doing to get after some of the concerns and challenges that we've had in the past. As far as the work orders go, we have begun an emergency response team. So every village has a set individual that all they do throughout the workday is respond to emergency work orders. The hope there is to cut back on the time that it takes from the initial call to when we get out to the house to triage and rectify or at least stymie the problem before it becomes something larger. We also have recently begun having a set of technicians stay after hours, so they're staying till about 6 or 7 o'clock and coming in on Saturdays to help set up appointments. Sometimes families have hours that don't fit within 8 to 5 and they prefer to be home. So that's another thing we've done to get after the work orders. The community management offices are also reaching out every Wednesday. We have what we call Warm Call Wednesdays, and they close the office for an hour and reach out to aging and recently completed work orders. So the goal is to do a QA touch point on anything closed out over the last week, and then additionally to let people that have work orders that have been open over 30 days, whether it be because of parts on order or that a specialized vendor is needed, to just kind of touch base and let them know, like, we're tracking, we know it's out there.
I don't know if it's not on yet.
No.
Hold on. Okay, so this might be a good point too. I get asked a lot what it is the garrison can do to hold the private company accountable. And what Zach is talking about is the pressure that we put on, that the Army puts on our partner, and it is a partnership. And all of the things he's doing to responding to the pressure that we put on. I can't direct the villages to do anything. They are a private company, but they are responsive to us because ultimately it comes down to if the private organization is not taking care of families. What happened last time was that Congress said, this to a specific company, you're not doing your job, and that's why Michaels is now in charge. So they have a lot of incentive to be responsive to the garrison and to the needs of the individuals that are out there. So I kind of wanted to jump in a little bit and just say, all of the things that Zach is talking about and all of the additional resources that they're putting on are in response to issues that we've had. The families that have had problems, we appreciate them highlighting those issues because that is incentive for me. It's an indicator for me to push Zach and his team to continue to get better. And they have. There's always going to be problems, but I get asked that question a lot. Kind of, you're answering that question in a lot of ways by the things that you have done, putting people on overtime, on weekends, emergency teams, and getting after it. We're not perfect, but it's getting better. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. And you know, it really is important to get to know your community manager, right? Like I was talking with Sergeant Major Hopkins before we got started about that and about how he had a situation in his own home that something wasn't getting done, right? And he reached out to his community manager, got sorted out quickly. Additionally, as stated on the infographic, you know, the assistant community director and the community director, they are involved, they care, and they want to get these things resolved. We appreciate the feedback, and it's always a learning opportunity. So we've additionally started doing hotspot checklists again. So when our maintenance technicians go in to do any type of work order, they're going to be given a Google form to fill out, essentially, that breaks out all of the water source areas in the home to be inspected, as well as the HVAC. At this point right now, until we push it out further on one-call messaging, that we're going to be doing this and we'll be looking at all of the water sources in the home. They've been instructed to only look at the local water sources to wherever their work order is. So that way, if you have a work order put in for, you know, say your kitchen sink, you don't come home and find one of my technicians in your master bathroom, right? Could cause some uncomfortable situations. But we will be pushing out messaging, and the hope will be that, you know, we will be able to get into those areas. We're asking residents if they are home. The technician has been instructed to ask. It's relatively new. We were doing it before, stopped because, you know, we were in a place that we didn't feel we needed it. Based on recent feedback, we're going to get after that again. That should be rolling out. So these are the things too, that if you're not getting a survey after your work order, if you're not getting, you know, the technician came in, they didn't do a hotspot checklist, those are the items that we also want brought to that levels of escalation. We want our community management teams tied in and partnering with maintenance. Additionally, some of the feedback we got, especially from the last mayor's meeting, was that the self-help hours are not really conducive to a lot of families' needs. So we're going to be extending those hours and additionally putting on, I keep saying additionally, sorry, putting on one Saturday a month where our warehouse is going to be open, and all of the items that are available through self-help, residents will be able to come in and get touch-up paint, filters, you know, light bulbs, simple things like that, to do their honey-do list on the Saturdays. That's it. Upcoming events. We have a lot of great Christmas-themed and holiday-themed, I guess I should say, events coming up, starting with donating plywood for we're gonna have a village holiday card competition. So tomorrow we have somebody delivering 15 sheets of plywood. We're gonna load them on the back of our dump truck and go around, pass them out village to village, and hopefully the villages will partner to decorate, and we will have a competition later this December to judge who wins. You're on.
Just making sure it was on. So we thank the villages for acquiring the plywood. It's completely voluntary per village. So if you decide not to decorate a Christmas card, that's up to you and your village, but we wanted to make sure that you had that. We are not providing all the other resources to do the decorating. We wanted to make sure that you had as much flexibility. You're welcome to make it a card to Santa. You can make it a card to Colonel Joe Messina. You can make it a card to your dog. Whatever the village decides, it's just the most creative card. And actually, I know we're delivering them to the villages, but I think one of the things we wanted was to have them at the 3 December holiday party. And as I'm thinking through the logistics of that, how we get them from the village to the front of the garrison. So we're gonna have a 3 December Christmas party, tree lighting ceremony in front of the garrison this year. It's going to be a fantastic party, and at some point, my director of morale, welfare, recreation is going to talk to that specifically. I was just looking at him, making sure he's nodding north-south, and he is for those online. But I think we probably need to determine how we're gonna get the cards. I'm looking at the Sergeant Major and Zach. We're going to deliver those sheets of plywood. Probably need to figure out where those are going and then how we're going to get them to the Christmas holiday tree lighting party so that the judging can go on at that time. So I'm going to task you, Sergeant Major, to lead that effort. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Additionally, we're going to continue doing the free gift wrapping stations at the neighborhood centers. We did that last year. It was a huge hit. Residents can stop in. We'll have all the materials needed to wrap gifts for whatever holiday you celebrate. Letters to Santa with goodie bags and holiday crafts. We're going to be doing 2 classes in the month of December. The wreath making class that we did last year. That was a huge hit as well. And then a charcuterie board class. Santa Claus is going to be coming around to all 15 villages on a DES fire truck later in the month of December. We're going to be doing an open house at all 5 neighborhood centers. It's a great opportunity to come meet your neighborhood center team, right? So the resident specialist, community manager, assistant community manager. Holiday decoration contest, and then tentatively in January and February respectively of 23, we will be doing a mother-son bowling night, and then the father-daughter winter ball. We're bringing it back. So that's all we have upcoming at this point.
That's all.
That's all.
All right.
So hello everyone, I am Alicia Lester. I'm the Garrison Housing Buzz person. So what does that mean to you all? What that means is after you've done both levels of escalation that were shown on an earlier slide, I'm the one you contact if you still have issues with the villages of Belvoir. I am the one that you speak to. I'm the one that's going to give you the extra push. Again, I am a representative of the Garrison Command Team. My job is to be neutral and to be fair to both parties. So please understand the levels of escalation. These slides will be put out to each individual mayor, and my contact information will be in that slide deck. Now, I wanted to highlight the mayors that did come. If you could, please stand.
Can we get the camera on them?
Yay! We can clap. Thank you so much. Again, as the Garrison Commander has said, I can't thank you enough for coming, for showing up. And together we're going to improve Fort Belvoir housing, and we do need your comments and we do need your help. So I thank you for this time.
Okay, I'm going to add on to that, because these folks are volunteers that go way, way above the call of duty for their village. So I'd like to, by name, for Belvoir Village, Colonel Douglas Copeland, brand new. I just went to his first mayor's meeting the other night. For Cedar Grove, Commander Michael Margolis. If you're out there on the net for, in Coiler Village, am I saying it right, Coiler? That's terrible that the garrison commander doesn't know how to say one of the names of the villages, so I apologize to you. But we need a Coiler Village mayor. Doe Creek, Sergeant John Fors, I think he's here tonight. His wife, there she is, ma'am. Thank you for coming. I think she's really the mayor. She just puts her husband's name up front. She is much more passionate, and she is out there every day, and I thank her for that. Fairfax Village is Catherine Martinez, Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Martinez. Gerber Village, if you're in Gerber Village and online, please volunteer to be a mayor. It is a vital role, and it is, again, it's a direct communication to the Garrison Command Team. George Washington Village, Sergeant Mike Thomas is back there. He is outstanding, and if you need some help with your HVAC, heating and air conditioning unit, he is a subject matter expert. Hereford Village, we need somebody to volunteer for that. Jodwin is Captain John Roten. There he is, he's here this evening. Lewis Village, Master Sergeant Calvin Moore. Park Village, Miss Pamela Roten. I'm looking. And then Russell Village, Lieutenant Commander Christine, where is she? She's sitting, she's kind of hiding behind my PA over there. Neil, and Christine Neal. River Village, Miss Basara Pozo. Say it again. Basara Pozo, I apologize, ma'am. And First Sergeant Joshua Unruh from Vernondale, and then Woodlawn Village Chief Smith, Matt Smith. So you guys are so valued, and I really do appreciate what you do for the community, so thank you. Traffic. Okay, so the Director of Emergency Services, Mr. Boyd Hodges.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to say a very special thank you for your service, for your family's contributions to your service, and for allowing us the honor of continuing to serve you in the Belvoir community. One of the things that you'll notice probably at the gates, you may see a little increase of traffic. We do have some constraints, some constraints with personnel, some manpower for the gates. And so you may see a little increase in traffic occasionally. So far it's been pretty good, but on occasion we may have some backups. Just let us know if it gets to a situation you notice really a significant increase. But I think we're on par with about every other installation in the National Capital Region right now. We're down to, again, a very small amount of guards. And we have some guards on boarding right now, so we hope to plus up the workforce here again. But we have a lot of guards working 16-hour days. So when you see them, they are somewhat fatigued. There's quite a bit of fatigue right now, and we're trying to minimize and posture our workforce as best we can. But that's the reality we deal with. One of the great things is, the commander is very passionate with his advocacy for all of us, and I really appreciate that. He and the Sergeant Major have advocated for the Trusted Traveler program, which should hopefully decrease your wait time at the installation access control points starting Monday. All you'll need is a driver to show an identification, and you can vouch for everyone in your vehicle. We are probably one of the only installations in the National Capital Region right now to take this posture. So really appreciate the Colonel taking his time, because he really has advocated for that change, and that's been a great benefit to all of us. So appreciate
Boyd,
it.
real quick, does it have to be the driver, or can it be anybody in the car? Can we clarify that?
It should be the driver. It should be the driver. Now, there will be some growing with this project that we're taking on. Because again, the guards have not done this, so it's disseminating down to the lowest level, and that's where we're at. And if you're a military member and you are in the vehicle, that's not to say the guard will not allow you the access, but it should be the driver. That's the way it should be. Again, if your son is driving, we're going to try to build in. If your children are driving, we're going to use some common sense. But the guards, just keep in mind that the same as in your workspace. There's little latitude for some common sense, but we try. So,
Boyd, is that a DOD ID card, not just military, right?
DOD ID card, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So visitors can apply online. One of the things we do have here at Team Belvoir is the expedited visitor pass, and that works out very well to pre-vet your visitors to the installation. We encourage you to use that. If you have any challenges with that, Dan Hoffer is the director for our VCC. He manages the processes there. And Dan or Chief Amber Flores or myself can assist you anytime with that process, and encourage you to use that. Traffic right now on the installation is pretty good. Off base, we encourage you to really take care. We stop people with speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour routinely. We have concurrent jurisdiction out Fairfax County Parkway, as well as Route 1. And so, you know, there's some areas there where our officers are actually in a pretty good harm's way. We've been to some pretty serious incidents out in the concurrent jurisdiction areas. The reason we patrol out there is to hopefully keep you and your family safe. We don't want people driving around you as you're turning into housing or you're turning into the access points for the installation. We don't want people passing you at 125 miles per hour. Want to highlight one of the assistant police chiefs, Commander Dwayne Loudon. He is over our traffic division, and I'll let him speak to traffic a little more in depth, but want to introduce him, and you are welcome to call, come by, see Dwayne anytime that you're available. We'll make ourselves available as well.
Good evening, everyone. As far as the traffic, I am the traffic supervisor for Belvoir Police Department, and we welcome when you guys from the housing area call and request our assistance as far as trying to slow some of the speeders down in your housing area. Let me give you a kind of short how we kind of go about that, so you don't think that we're not necessarily listening to you, but how we go about that. If we do get the complaint, we have two, which is called stealth stats. And what it is a data collecting machine that is, you really can't tell what it is. And we set it up within the housing area, and it collects the data speeds of and how many vehicles come through a particular area. So we let that go for about a week, and then we calculate it. Well, the system itself calculates average speed. So a lot of times when people are calling and saying there's a speeding problem, there may just be speeders kind of sort of in your neighborhood, not necessarily a speeding problem, because after we calculate it after a week, sometimes like if the housing area is 15 miles per hour and we calculate it for a week, and the average speed may be 16 or 17 miles per hour, that's not necessarily an actual problem. But we will address it nevertheless. But I just want to give you some information. That's how we kind of go about as far as when we get complaints saying that there's an actual problem in the housing area. But again, when we do get those complaints, we do address them. Again, my section goes out. We'll saturate the area as far as go and maybe do some stopping teams or patrols in which we can be visibly seen, and that's kind of how we combat the traffic problem on the installation. Pending any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Loudon. Appreciate that. And we really, again, we definitely recognize that there are those folks that just, they're not going to adhere to a speed limit, and there are those folks out there, and we recognize that. And, we do wish we could be there to have a good conversation with some of these folks. So as you report these, we do take notice of it, and we do look for these folks that you're calling in about, just to validate if it's a chronic issue, or maybe that particular day it was just not a good day for that person. So we recognize that. We have a lot of kids in the neighborhoods. Having lived on an installation 12 to 14 years of my career, I absolutely understand with children in close proximity to roads, especially, we're most concerned about children and kids playing in the street, things like that. They ought to feel a sense of safety, and that's one of the reasons it's a good problem to have. Kids do feel safe coming into our streets, and I think that speaks volumes to
Yeah, Boyd was being very diplomatic earlier and mentioned a gate guard manning issue. We're at a really a point where I had to make a decision, and in order to provide some predictability for the population, starting on Monday, we're closing, I want to make sure I say it right, Walker Gate, at least until after the new year. We do not have the manning right now. We're at less than 50% of our authorized strength for our gate guards, and so I will be closing Walker Gate. I've also reached out to other commanders in the area to determine if they are able to support with their personnel, and at this point we're not getting much support, and I've already briefed the commanding general of the military district of Washington that if the issue continues, we may end up moving to closing Kingman Gate. So I reached out to INSCOM, the intelligence command out by Kingman Gate. They're not able to support. I've reached out to the aviation brigade and other units on the installation to try to alleviate the problem we're having. And really, this is an issue. It's one of my most significant issues as a garrison commander, because we're talking about the security of the installation. We're talking about the convenience of being able to get in and out of the base as quickly as you would like. And it's unfortunate, but we're at a point where I don't have much of a choice. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you hire more people or buy or pay for contractors? It's not a money issue. This is a human manning issue. In other words, we did a job fair last week. We're doing job fairs regularly, trying to hire folks, and we're not getting the people. And part of it is because we're here in the National Capital Region. There are a lot of other agencies out there that may or may not pay more money or have better benefits, and we're having a real difficult problem. So I apologize for that, but it's a difficult decision that I've had to make. And Boyd was being very diplomatic and not addressing that. But starting Monday, Walker Gate will be closed until after Christmas, at a minimum, after the new year, excuse me. And then we're taking a look at Kingman Gate and whether or not I need to close that permanently, or if, as you were, until we have the manning to facilitate that. And then on the, I want to highlight one of the good news stories. So we have a village mayor meeting, and it gets brought to my attention that we never see the police in Woodlawn Village. So because you have somebody advocating for you, I've directed that at a minimum 2 times every single day there will be a patrol that will spend time in Woodlawn Village, and that includes checking speeds and making sure that everybody is being safe and ensuring that you feel safe in Woodlawn Village. Our director mentioned we have very low crime, knock on wood, very low crime across the installation, including on Woodlawn Village. But part of that is the perception and the feeling. I want everybody to feel safe in our community. And so I've directed that we increase patrols and make sure that they're there at times that make sense, and make sure that we're patrolling more. So thank you, Boyd, for increasing the patrols there.
Testing, there we go. Want to also make sure y'all are aware that the challenges with guards is not just at Fort Belvoir. There are SES, general officer, flag officer level folks addressing the issue. Congress had put into place some years ago a sundown clause for contract security. Gates are inherently a government function, and that's the reason we just can't utilize a guard force to manage a gate. That is an inherent government function. So it either has to be military members or it has to be federal civilian employees. So the options are limited. The personnel community is doing everything they can do. Our guards have to have physicals, so they have to meet a very almost flight physical level requirement to be an 085 series guard, just like firefighters and police officers. So there are challenges. There are challenges. So.
Next slide.
Okay.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry.
Did you have a question back there? We can address a question.
No, live feed is frozen.
Oh, Facebook is, I'm being told that Facebook is frozen currently. Can you just let me know whether or not they can hear what's going on, and can they see the slide?
They can't see or hear, sir.
Say again?
No, they can't see or hear, sir.
I'm being told they can't hear anything. We're going to take a tactical pause. I want to make sure that we're addressing the community as much as possible. So hold on just a moment.
Is there anything? I'm looking up there.
Sir, this is being recorded on the camera, so
Okay.
for playback later, there will be fidelity.
I think what we'll do is afterwards, we'll put the entire video back out on our Facebook page.
Absolutely.
And all the other platforms. Do you have questions already from folks?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, so we'll,
Go ahead. We'll continue with the slides, and then we'll get to as many questions as possible. And for those, I apologize if we're having connectivity issues with Facebook. What we'll do is, what I just mentioned, was we will post the entire video and answer as many questions, and we'll post all of that on all of the Garrison platforms for everybody's comments and concerns afterwards. So again, I apologize, but we're going to continue to drive forward. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Justin Weaver. I'm the Chief Fire Marshal here at Fort Belvoir Fire Emergency Services. So, Colonel, first off, thanks for letting me say a couple words on public education. So, I don't know how many people follow us on Facebook, but I highly recommend if you're, especially in the villages, go on there and follow us because we post all kinds of topics throughout the month. So, first thing, back in October, the week of fire prevention, we posted a lot of videos that are hitting on a lot of these topics right here. So if you want some additional info, just go back about a month or so. There's some more topics on there. So smoke alarms. As we all know, when the clocks change, please update your batteries. Reach out to housing if you do have issues. They have been pretty good about that in the past. When we've done the door-to-door campaign, they've been taking care of that. So change your clocks, please change your batteries. I know it's a small thing, a lot of people overlook it, but it's a big problem. You know, on the news, I'm sure you see it. Exit drills in the home. So with this here, I'm sure most of you have heard about this also. There's another social media post online during Fire Prevention Week highlighting this. We recommend everyone have an escape plan if you've never done it. I know in housing there was a big issue when people were painting the windows. None of the windows will open. So minimally, I would check the windows in all of your children's bedrooms and the master bedroom because they're probably painted shut. And it's not a bad thing, but you can't open them. So I highly recommend minimally trying to open the windows. So holiday cooking safety. Best time of the year, but it's obviously like it's a huge uptick in kitchen fires. The recommendations we have with that is if you have a fire extinguisher under your sink, just give it a quick check to make sure it's up to date and everything's current. If you don't have one, I still believe housing issues those, correct? Is that?
Yeah.
Fire extinguishers?
I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check it.
So we'll take it as an RFI.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. But before the holiday season comes, I highly recommend everyone taking a quick peek at that. That's the quickest response you have besides us. We recently went through the insurance services organization, and we upgraded our classification. Also downgraded, I should say, from class 5 to class 2. So your rental insurance rates should be go down if you reach out to the insurance company. So that's good news, especially with the times we're in. So reach out to your insurance company. If you need any type of certification, if you will, just reach out and we can help provide that. But they should be capturing that in the background. So we're still available for community outreach. That kind of never really went away. It's just the capacity of what we normally had kind of went down. But if you have any type of outreach that you would like the fire department to participate in, just reach out to the DPTMS tasking office, and they will vet the request and go from there, and we can put it on our calendar. Just a heads up with that, we get a lot of requests like last minute. It's nothing personal. We just can't we can't honor that. So 2 to 3 week minimum, so it can be put on our radar. So preparation for spring door-to-door, like I mentioned earlier. So I reached out to Ms. Hudson. We were going to try to do it the week of fire prevention or the month of fire prevention, but It's just, there's a lot going on in the time frame, and it popped on our radar last minute. So I reached out to Jennifer. We're gonna shoot for May to do the door-to-door, and what that is a completely volunteer and free check where the fire department will come to your housing and check your smoke detectors. And depending on how in-depth you want to get of the visit, we can look in the kitchen, help you, look at the fire extinguisher, completely free. We're not able to just walk in. I just want to clarify that because I know in the past I think people had the gist that we were, it was here and it's mandatory. That's not the case. It's completely voluntary. Doesn't cost a thing. We partner up with housing. If we do identify anything that can be fixed, fairly quick, we'll take care of that. That will be posted on our social media through the mayor of villages, and Jennifer and Susan will be pushing that out. So more to come, and that should be out in the next week. But in the last part, so the holiday sanitary. So I know that's the best part everyone's waiting for, right? Only reason why you're here is then on the fire truck. So don't forget the reindeer, like cookies. So that is going to be December 19th through the 23rd. Just want to confirm, I saw it earlier. And that's roughly 6:30 to 9 o'clock. So the routes will be posted on social media. I sent that to Ms. Hudson, and actually I think that should be posted. Our Facebook page, we had a little error. I don't know why it was kind of distorted, so we went to send it out and it wasn't popping up right. So that should be back out tomorrow. So take a look at that. And that is all I have on here.
Okay, real quick, you used an acronym, DPTMS. That's the Plans and Operations for the Garrison. If you're interested in firefighter or police force community outreach, just go to your nearest fire station and they'll reach out to the operations department and we can work it that way.
And sir, just like to recap with, once again, this is a nationally accredited department. And our commander is a real champion to keep our fire department nationally accredited. And that definitely saves you money for your rental insurance. It should. If it doesn't, come see us so we can give you the proper documentation that'll help you with your insurance company. One of the things that I was remiss on earlier also, I wanted to introduce Lieutenant Simpson Stokes. She's going to be our community relations officer. She is newly promoted to the rank of lieutenant as a civilian police officer, federal police officer, and she will work with the mayors directly, and she will carry the commander and the sergeant major's message to you, and we will solicit feedback from you through her, and of course you're welcome to call our office anytime, but she'll definitely be a good point of contact, and she's most interested in keeping you, and more importantly, our best assets, our youth, safe and secure on the installation. So again, sir, thank you. Master Major, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Boyd. Next up, we have MWR. George, thank you.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. Again, my name is George Dixon. I'm the director of MWR. And finally, after 14 months, our bowling center is finally reopening. It's opening right now for 4 days a week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we will expand hours as we get employees. As the Colonel said, I think everybody's being touched by the fact that they can't hire anybody. And I tell the story that currently right now in Fairfax County, the unemployment rate is 2.5%. For every 100 jobs that is available, there's only 60 workers to take those jobs. So we are fighting every day to hire. And in fact, the president even went as far as upping the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Back last summer, we paid our lifeguards $18 an hour, and we'll probably go up more so that we can open our outdoor pool. It hasn't been an easy 32 months going through COVID. I said back in September of 2020 that we had a rapid decline of programs and services within MWR, and we'll have a slow uphill battle to get back to where we were if we ever get back to that level. So, some other good news, we have a turkey shoot on Saturday the 19th, 18 holes. There's prizes for the first 3 top scorers there at the golf course. Then we have a turkey trot on the same day starting at 0900, starting just outside the bowling center and skate park right there where we start all our races. And from my understanding, it's going to be a nice cold morning, so make make sure you stretch. And then at Outdoor Rec, we have an intro to archery. So for those of you that want to learn to shoot a bow and arrow, this is a time to come out and learn how to do that. We have both an indoor and outdoor range, and then we also have a 3D range there as well. So it's a chance to get out and try something new. As the Colonel was talking about our Winterfest, we're pretty excited about that. And I have some flyers here if anybody needs them, but I'll just go down the list real quick. So we're gonna have the princesses from Frozen show up, and they're actually going to be singing as well. The Grinch will make an appearance. Of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus will make an appearance. We'll have pony rides. We'll have a train that will do a loop around the street there, right here in front of Flagler Hall. And then s'mores and a DJ and a choir. So there's going to be a lot going on December 3rd for the tree lighting ceremony. We will also have a gingerbread house contest. And we will award prizes for different categories, so make sure you're following us on Facebook. So there's a lot going on that particular day. So Dr. Muller's gonna like this. We're gonna have our Beat Navy party, since we are Fort Belvoir, an Army installation. But of course, anyone from the Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, and Coast Guard is welcome to attend. It's open to all, and it'll be at the golf clubhouse. We can comfortably hold 150. And we'll have plenty of food and beverages. Also that day, we'll have breakfast with Santa. We're gonna have 2 seatings, and we can hold 175 for each seating. Now, some people are probably asking, okay, what happened to the Officers Club? Well, I will tell you right now that the Officers Club is currently scheduled to go under renovation. And back in September, we had a meeting with the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps of Engineers was letting the company that's going to write the request for proposals, which I think is a statement of work, exactly what needs to be done. It was done 8 years ago, so it needed to be updated to ensure that the costs were right, and so that's ongoing right now. If we were to go and try to open the Officers Club, we will turn around and do what we did 14 months ago, and unfortunately close it to do the renovations, because they're going to do nothing but the back of the house, which means they're going to do the kitchens, they're going to do the locker areas, the bathrooms, so water, plumbing, sewage, and all that will be affected. So more to follow on that. As soon as we get updates, we'll let you know exactly what's going on. But if anybody would like to rent the Officers Club and bring in an outside caterer, that is allowed, and I'll give a number here in a second, because we are having some people asking to use it, and we will go that direction for as long as we can until we come under renovation. We also have the community center that is open as well for your events, and the golf course, and now the bowling center. Just today, Peter already took 2 Christmas parties from the Pentagon that'll be held at the bowling center. He's taking birthday parties. So, you know, the first day being open, he's fielding a lot of phone calls. Okay, what else do we have? Okay. Also, there will be a New Year's Eve party there at the bowling center, so we're looking forward to that. Prior to COVID, we've held it every year, and so that'll be a good event for us. And we're also doing hiring lifeguards and caregivers, and in the summer, we'll be hiring groundskeepers there at the golf course. We feel that we are paying top dollar for our lifeguards and our CYPAs. Our CYPAs are the folks that take care of your kids here on the installation. We're at 98% active duty within our CDCs, almost all active duty service members. That 2% that is there is for the caregivers' kids that they're allowed to have there in the Child Development Center. So if you know of anyone that would like to work for MWR, there's our quick response code there. And I have all the literature here. Also within CYS, we are looking for volunteer coaches for the different youth sports that we have throughout the year. We have a big need for them, especially in the springtime. And so if you know anybody that wants to coach youth sports and get some enjoyment of teaching and watching kids grow, this is a great opportunity for them. I will also let you know, I'll close with this, with some other good news. For those of you that like varsity basketball, the Wizards have contacted us, and we're in the process of putting together a skills camp for people to come out and learn three-pointers, layups, how to shoot, and then have some scrimmages at the end of that. But more to follow on that. That'll be the third week in January, so we're pretty excited about that. MWR is really exciting to be opening back up. We have more going on in the next 4 weeks than we have had in the previous 30 months. But we need the community support to keep these things open. I could give you MWR 101, but it would take all night to explain Cat A, B, C, and everything that goes into what's appropriated fund, what's not appropriated fund, boots through the door, and things of that nature. But the Colonel's smiling, so I will stop there. I am very grateful to be here in front of you and serving you. As I tell people, I had the opportunity to work for Hilton. Now I took my opportunity to work for the Army, and I'm glad that I'm still doing that after 30 years. Sir, back to you.
So I'm going to take this, this is our last slide before we go into questions. The Digital Garrison app. So everybody has a smartphone now. So if you go onto your app store, Google Play Store, whatever, you can download the Digital Garrison. The Digital Garrison app gives you updates to what's going on in the installation. It tells you what the hours are on the gates. It tells you what upcoming events are. It gives a lot of information that's going on in the installation. Additionally, you can go on there and do your online AP shopping. There's a ton of different resources all on Digital Garrison. If you haven't downloaded the app, I highly encourage you to. There's more resources than I can name right now. Just by going in there and just learning what's on there. Play with it, get to know it. But our PAO team does a great job keeping things updated on that app. So Digital Garrison is on all of the social media apps. We don't have anything else. We will go into questions.
Yeah, in just a moment. I've asked the team to go back to slide 3 because I wanted to reiterate the importance of doing the survey. So we get direct feedback on what you tell us is going on and going wrong or going right. And this is a way for us to, once again, push our partner and identify where there are shortcomings. And last year we identified that the follow-up isn't as good as it could be, fair? And so that is a point of emphasis. And so I ask you again, please go out and fill this survey. I know we get tons and tons of survey. This is one way you can make a real difference in your community and in your village. And then finally, I did want to mention, I am starting a village-specific town hall. I'll do the first one on the 30th of November, and every month I will go to your village or a common area and meet with your village because I want to hear what's specifically going on in your village. So without further ado, I think we're ready to take questions. Is there anybody here in the audience that has a question? I know we have a bunch online, so I'll start here. Go ahead. If you'll just go up to the microphone over to your left or right, and then let us know what village you're from, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, sir. My name is Lacey, and I'm one of the advocates that are on base here.
I'm sorry, your name?
Alicia Camichas.
Alicia, thank you for coming.
My first question is actually, I live in Woodlawn Village, and I know you said that there is going to be an intake or an uptake of police that are patrolling. When is that due to start? Or did that already start?
Good.
So we actually have started, and Commander Loudon can probably explain a little better, but we have 2 patrols per day that are 30 minutes of enforcement. Then we have another 2 patrols that are in the area for security checks. And anytime that we have time that we're not committed, this is a base of 250,000 people. So we literally, with 24 total police officers, divvy up 24 hours a day. So we do give as much time as we really can. It is exclusive jurisdiction, so we have to do the patrolling in the area. Fairfax County would be outside their jurisdiction, or Prince William, either one. As an example, that Jag is here with me, and I always look to him to make sure he's nodding north to south when I say something. But that's where we're at. So the garrison commander tasked me to increase from our 2 patrols.
In other words, it started already.
That's right, as of today.
So my question is, when the patrols are coming to the entrance of Woodlawn and then immediately turning around and leaving, how is that patrolling Woodlawn?
Well, it depends when you see them. I mean, you know, again, they're out there sporadically. It's not just really the 4 times that I'm talking about. Sometimes they're coming out there because there may have been a report of a suspicious person. So what you may be seeing is a patrol responding, the patrol arrives, it's a negative contact, and so the patrol is turning
If
around.
they're not coming in the neighborhood, how would that be a negative contact? If they're not coming into the neighborhood to make sure nothing's going on?
Well, again, it would depend on the call. Again, it could be a suspicious person on the outside of the installation. It could be any number of reasons why they're actually there. So the patrol you're seeing, I'm not saying that they're not there, that they shouldn't be coming in. I'm simply saying they may not be that may not be one of those 4 patrols that comes out there. So we can give you the times to look. I mean, we don't care to share with you the times to look for
I don't
those.
think it would be helpful to have set times, then if something was happening, they would know when to.
Well, again,
There.
you're right. Those times will change. I'm just simply saying that if you want to know on any given day, we don't care to share that with you.
The bottom line is they should go into the community. We'll make sure that they're doing that. And you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be show face at the entrance and leave. So we'll make sure that's not happening.
And with Lieutenant Simpson-Stokes, she's going to help us to make sure that our checks are done the way the task condition standard that we have set for these patrols. She's there to work with you. She's there to work with the community. And not just Woodlawn Village. She's going to work with all the different areas for base housing and all the different villages. But yes, they should predominantly be coming in. Again, I just remind you, we go in and out actually a lot. We're actually out there for other reasons, not just for that. And sometimes we just do a drive-by because we run enforcement on the outside of Woodlawn Village as an example. So we try to keep speeding down outside Woodlawn Village as well as in Woodlawn Village. But there's a lot of moving parts. I'm not going to kid you, 250,000 population here. You're in a community of about 1.3 million. And I've got 24 cops, 24/7 to divvy up. And
I
that's
totally
right now.
understand that, but when you had 2 shootings outside of Woodlawn Village in a 3-week period, 2 of which resulted in murders, we've had 2 sexual assaults in Woodlawn just this summer. So there needs to be an uptake in police activity in our neighborhood. We feel like we're this ugly stepchild that nobody cares about.
Right.
When I've even spoken to the officers who's come in, I had an officer really tell me that was the first time he's ever patrolled Woodlawn. He had never gotten called out there. And I was like, well, how long have you been in this job? Oh, I've been on here for a while. Well, how have you only been on Woodlawn Village 1 time then?
Right.
If you're patrolling like you're supposed to, you should be in the neighborhood. But he had never been there before, except when a call was made.
Right. I can't speak to the conversation that you had. I'm very happy for you if you have the name of the individual to let me know, and I will certainly have a conversation to find out, what exactly.
I mean, the sergeant that was with him flat out said that they don't patrol unless they get a call.
Right. But
okay, look at, I hear the comment.
Right.
And we, look at, the reason it came up tonight is because your advocate, your village mayor brought that to my attention. And literally that was this week, and I've directed it to happen. So what I would ask is if you don't see an improvement, then reach out to me, reach out to the police department directly and let us know. We are instituting it now. It's unfortunate that the presence wasn't there for you previously, but absolutely, I want you to feel safe. Now, I can't control what happens across the street, but I do want you to feel safe in your community.
Is there anything that's going to be done to, since we don't have a gate, to keep people from coming into the community? Because the other part is right now is it's getting trashed because they have young kids that are coming from across the street that are trashing the neighborhood. They're destroying things, they're breaking things, and then we're the ones that are left to clean it up because there's no way to keep them out of it. The basketball court's getting trashed, the dog park's getting trashed, like everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have 5 kids, and I'm just going to say that my kids aren't perfect. My kid uses the skate park here on Post, And I'm probably gonna go sideways with this. I don't know if all the kids in Woodlawn Village are perfect or don't do anything destructive.
No, I'm not saying they don't.
I'm just
When
saying
we
that-
watch kids walk into the neighborhood from outside the neighborhood.
Right.
And then we watch them be destructive. It's like, we're the ones that have to put the work orders and keep it up, but there's no way for us to keep the kids out of the neighborhood.
What I would suggest is, one, call the MPs, and two, pull out that phone in your pocket and videotape it, and we will take care of it.
And bring it over to the, anytime you want to come by the office, I would definitely encourage you to come by anytime with that kind of information. For one thing, we have military police investigators as well, and they are over there. We have unmarked cars, and so we are in and out on occasion for other reasons, for the purpose that you're talking about. I've not heard, now I watch Jarvis. Jarvis is the database that we have, and Commander Loudon watches, that all of us do, for the off-base criminal activity. And there is off-base crimes, but like the shootings as an example, I don't believe I've seen shootings reported into, and this is a database that the Joint Task Force and the FBI, everybody monitors. I've not seen a lot of shootings per se. I'm not saying that doesn't happen at all. And that's where, you know, if you can tell us like the times and the things that you
No, I can
hear.
definitely come and give
Yeah,
you
yeah, come in,
information, because I can
absolutely.
send the news articles about it.
Absolutely, trust me,
You have very valid
interested
points.
in anything.
And we're going to increase the patrols. We have
I mean,
increased the
I have
patrols.
families that are literally contacting me at this point because they're asking me how to help them move lines to base because they don't feel safe in Woodlawn anymore because of how bad it's hitting. And it's like, nothing I can tell them. I can't make housing move them or make anything happen, but I mean, their fears are validated when there's so much that's going on in the neighborhood.
Well, and it helps that we get the phone calls. You know, our CAD, which is the emergency communications, the dispatch, again, we play back the recordings and things. There's just not calls like for what you're referencing. That doesn't mean it's not happening. That's why I say, come over and see us and talk to us about it for sure. We're not having people call us, I guess, is the issue. So if they're calling you, and we'd ask that you tell them, please contact us so we can deal with that. That'd be a real help, you know. And I appreciate the information. That's tremendous. Yeah, it's tremendous.
And then my second question was going to be more towards the housing side. What exact, your phone? Yeah. Oh. For work orders, I'm not sure when this was put into place, but this morning I noticed personally that the app updated for the Village's active building app. And now there's no way to submit or to look at work orders. Or is there going to be some kind of information put out about that?
Sure, yeah, we'll get a one-call notice out about that. We were notified late in the day, actually, by your village mayor. He was the one that reached out, and he sent me screenshots. It's one of those things, specifics are integral to finding a solution, right? And him sending the screenshots, we forwarded that along to Real Page. There is a help ticket in with them. You're right, it did get updated. We were not notified ahead of time that that was happening, right? Real Page is a third-party software platform that we use. They updated the back end of that, your end user experience, and didn't notify us. That will be rectified, and we will be pushing out notification, you know, community-wide to let everybody know, like, hey, we're aware, and there's already a help desk ticketed.
Awesome. My next question was,
Okay, I'm gonna give you this last one, and then we're gonna go to other people online.
what is the
And then I'll come to you, ma'am, I see you standing.
industry standard that you guys are calling for mold remediation right now? Like the actual industry standard, like the reference number and everything that you guys are doing, just so we're on the same basis of what is being done, what standard is being followed.
Sure, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that afterwards. I think that that's something that we would prefer to talk about offline and give us a little bit more time and availability. If you want to get with one of my teammates, they can take down your question and get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just want to make sure I was on. Yes, ma'am, thank you. I will take one online, and then we'll come right back to you.
So this is gonna be our first can anybody hear me?
Not yet.
No.
I don't think I did. This is gonna be our first online question. This is gonna be to Mr. Allen. What is the plan to address the issues with streetlights?
Great question, thank you. So we've signed a contract to have the outdated streetlights retrofitted with LED. They're much more efficient, they're brighter, and they require replacement less often. We additionally have our master electrician out with the crew right now. They're currently going to Lewis Village next week, and then GW following that. The vendor is going to Woodlawn Village next, and that's starting next week. So between our team and between the contract, they will be either getting replaced with a new head that is LED or getting some type of mechanical repair like a bulb or a photocell.
Thank you.
Hey, it was a great question. I hate harping on this, but the reason that Zach is able to answer that question so quickly and so efficiently and tell you what he's already doing is because your village mayors are harping on us to get those things done. It was identified previously that the lights are an issue. It absolutely is, and we're actioning it because of your village mayor. Thank you. Ma'am.
Thank you so much. Sounds good. All right, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Brianna Bragg. Hi to those of you who do know me. I have a couple questions. My first question is, in the past, Zach Allen's employees have told residents no one from the Army or Garrison team can help them or advocate for them when they are facing distress from Zach Allen or his employees. Alicia and Colonel Messina, my question to you is, what is your plan to combat this dangerous rhetoric?
Yeah, it's good to see you, Ms. Bragg. And you're fully aware that we spoke to you directly, specifically about this issue, and identified and sat down and met with Zach and his team and his chain of command. And it is clear to Zach and the villages and their parent company that at no time can any person from a private organization tell a service member or their family that they cannot reach out to the garrison. Number one, I'd suggest your chain of command should be involved at all times. If you have an issue or a concern that's not being addressed, call your chain of command. Use the process that we put up on the board earlier to go through the process, and when you're not getting a response, go to your chain of command, reach out to the echelons that Zach and his team have put in place, and then reach out to our ombudsperson, who is your liaison, direct contact with the garrison to represent you. So I understand the question. I think it was an issue previously, maybe, I don't know.
It still is. I've been in contact with Alicia. My concern is that when she doesn't have the immediate knowledge of every single family that is in distress, that is dealing with water issues or some type of mold in their home, she has no way of finding the families. For instance, as an advocate, I know we're not very much liked by the Garrison team or the housing company. I think Alicia and Jennifer Hudson can testify for the amount of families that we have to bring to them because they aren't getting she's not their immediate contact that they're given. So if housing company isn't giving families her information, and families believe or think that they have nobody to help them, my question for you is, how do you plan on combating that rhetoric?
By talking to everybody that's here and during this town hall and saying at no point in time is it okay for any member of the villages or their parent company to tell you that you can't talk to the garrison. Again, there's nobody that can tell you you can't talk to your chain of command or to the garrison personnel. If there is somebody specific, if you have an example and you want to bring it to us where that person said to you or anybody in the advocacy group, and just so you're, I don't know where you think that I don't like the advocacy group. 100% incorrect statement. That is not a true statement, and I will fight you on that every single time. I want to hear from every member of this organization and every person that has an issue. There are ways to do that and processes to do that, but and I apologize, but that touches me because I'm here to listen to you, regardless of what organization you're with. I don't have any negative feelings whatsoever for anybody that's advocating for our families. That's what I'm here for.
Respectfully, Colonel Messina, I don't agree, but we can agree to disagree on that
I
statement.
can appreciate that.
My next question that I have, and it's my very last one.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
wire technicians telling families there is no mold in their home when in fact only microbiologists can identify substances as mold and the housing company does not test for mold?
Might just slow down just a little bit. I didn't hear the whole question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Give me one more time. I said, why are technicians telling families that there is no mold in their homes when in fact only a microbiologist can identify substances as mold and the housing company does not test for mold? And my question to you and to Mr. Allen and Jennifer Hudson are, what is your plan to combat that issue of families placing work orders and having technicians come out to their home and being told that that's just dirt or that's just discoloration?
Thank you for the feedback, ma'am, and if you have specific situations that you know of with families and technicians.
That was a question, and if you can't answer it, Colonel Messina or Jennifer Hudson, is there any way that you can answer that question for me, please?
Let him finish his statement. We're not going to interrupt and be rude. Let's be respectful.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to hear what he has to say, and then if you don't like the answer and we can answer it better, we'll get to that, okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, ma'am. If you have specific instances that you're describing with a specific technician or a specific home where that happened, we would like to talk to you about that. Again, we have team members here with clipboards ready to take notes about anything like that. We appreciate all feedback, and we would really like to hear specifics, as we were talking about with the street lights. It's specific actions, specific details that allow us to have an action and find a resolution.
Thank you for your feedback. Jennifer Hudson or Colonel Messina, thank you.
As far as how mold is determined, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is, how are you all going to combat technicians coming in homes? And I mean, I'm really good with my receipts and screenshots, so I don't mind sending an email out at all.
So one of the ways we're ensuring that the standards are being maintained is this past week we held a standards quality assurance, quality check meeting with Zach and his chain of command up and his team down to ensure that they are using the same IH, industrial hygienist standards that our IH, our certified IH, and I apologize, I can't speak to what the standard is. I'm not an IH, industrial hygienist, subject matter expert as to how they identify that. So I'd have to get an IH person, I think, here to tell you what the standard is for identifying mold. So I apologize for that, and we can take it as an RFI on what qualifies and not qualifies. I'm not sure that, Jen, are you able to answer that or not?
So what I was going to say is, if the tech is stating that stuff, you have the right to request a quality assurance inspector through the housing office. Just reach out to us, and we can coordinate an inspection. Now, my QAs cannot say that there's mold, but we can escalate it up to the industrial hygienist that we have through the garrison.
Absolutely. Jennifer, can I ask, what is the industry standard that your IH follows when they come out to do the QA inspections?
So there's multiple standards that they follow. They typically generate a report afterward that lists the standards. So, and residents can request their reports as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's all.
No, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the questions. We're going to go online and then we'll come back in.
All right, so our online question is from Patrick. I apologize if I say your last name wrong. Malat? Will we be getting better dog parks anytime soon? In reference to the size.
It's not a laughing matter.
No, it's not a laughing matter. Currently, there are no plans for additional dog parks in next year. We will be adding, we've not officially done a grand opening of those dog parks yet. And part of that reason is because we are in the process of getting some additional agility equipment and items like that to go out there. But I will say, your mayors have touted that feedback at every mayor's meeting multiple times. We've also seen the ICE comments, and those are what's there now, right? But at the end of the day, we hear your feedback, and the next time that we sit down at the drawing board to talk about dog parks, I promise you, your GW mayor specifically, the 100 by 100 suggestion will be taken into account. Thank you.
Our director of MWR has a comment, I think. Hold on.
Yes, sir, thank you for that opportunity. We do have a dog park at Outdoor Rec, and I call it the Rustic Dog Park. And, you know, we saw a need a few years back, and we put it up, and then we put a fence up. And we did that at an expense to MWR, but with any expense, you've got to have upkeep. And I think people want a bigger space now, so maybe that's something that we can look at with the command team. And if we could do that and make it bigger, we would absolutely like to do that for the community.
George, beyond making it bigger, is there an opportunity or a place where we could do a second one that's not, because it's on one side of the base. Do we have an opportunity maybe to do it somewhere in one of the other communities maybe?
Maybe, and I think our Katie from Patriot Pet Care Center could help us locate a nice spot to do that. And that's something we can look
So
at.
I appreciate the question, and it is driving us to question ourselves, because I've always looked at the villages for the dog park issue, and I really haven't looked internally. So thanks, George. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike from George Washington, I'm the mayor. A couple questions that some of my residents had and comments was, Zach, one, so the industry standards that are being pushed off in the meeting right now, the standards should be able to be discussed openly and not more in a offline manner. I know Ms. Bragg wants answers, there's a lot of other folks that would like the answers. I feel as if this situation, as a whole, we should be able to talk about it in an open communication, in an open space. With a second comment that...
Can we answer that one first?
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, Mike from GW.
Hi, Zach from...
Good to see you. I appreciate, you bringing that up. And for everybody's understanding, anytime that there is a remediation job, we generally do a scope of work meeting beforehand. There's a scope of work generated by a third party, right? Yep. The standards with which the job is supposed to be done are referenced within that scope of work, and we talk about that and give the opportunity for questions to be asked throughout that scope of work meeting. Additionally, every night, Jordan Cummings, our resident engagement specialist, and Diane Amawi, I gotta give credit to Diane as well, laboriously send out emails to any family that has a job ongoing, right? And CC'd on that email is Jen, is CSM Hopkins, myself, and it gives them the opportunity to ask questions and to talk through these things. And we have had numerous sit-down meetings with families that have open jobs with the command, right? Whether it be CSM Hopkins or Colonel Messina or Dr. Moeller, Jen Hudson, Alicia has participated in all of them. And we give the opportunity for any questions they have to be asked. The reason that I'm asking that we talk in specifics offline is because that was a specific question, right?
Yeah, it was more, not the specific of it, but just the generality of that, of the standards in the scope of work. But like the caveat off of that, I think if we were to have the Garrison environmental person, I know I met them at a scope of work meeting, I met them at the containment inspection. I really picked his brain while I was there, and sir, if you're in here, I apologize because I just continue to talk. I think it would be a good idea to have a person come out, maybe into one of these town halls, and maybe explain the things that we're using in our house, like harsh chemicals, trying to scrub soap scum off of silicone. I think if we had something like that, we would be able to at least combat some of like the, hey, there's mold around my shower curtain, or there's mold right here. Because it's one of those things where you're going to have mold in the bathroom. It's not great, right? But if we know that instead of using scrubbing bubbles to take the shine off of it, and we just use like soap and water, and maybe like a loofah or something other than harsh chemicals, maybe we would, I don't want to say alleviate some of the issue, but we'd be able to help people out with that.
No, Mike, great point, and I appreciate it. And so we probably need to push, again, all of the procedures that families should use, because I have the same issue, right? At my shower, I'm using, it's not scrubbing bubbles, but it's one of those things, and I squeegee down my shower and I leave the vent on, but we need to push out again, please, to both PAO and to housing, all of the best practices to minimize and mitigate mold at the family level, right? What can you do? So, a great point. Thank you.
I'll bring it back to the Army, bring it to like a 10-level task. What can residents do, to help combat this, but not in a
100%.
facetious way that your house is dirty or you clean too much. Because I know those comments are being made, whether they're it's happening.
You're right on.
So
I think the mayor program too, the meeting that we have, is a great opportunity to workshop that messaging. So
100%.
We can work on that together at the next mayor's meeting.
100%. And then one other question from my neighborhood.
Mike, this is your last one before I go online.
That's fine, sir. I'll let him go back online.
No. Take it now.
Hey, so for folks going through informal disputes, they are being forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement prior to the informal disputes. I'm just wondering, is that a standard practice? And if it is, how come? Because if folks have to go through an informal dispute, I feel that if there's information that's going to help said case or one family versus another, the way it looks and appears is that we want to hide the information and bury it and sweep it under the rug.
So, and we got a lawyer here if I step out of line, but I just want to explain, Colonel Herring. So, it's not so much a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay.
During that time, you're having a discussion about coming to an agreement.
Okay.
That discussion is private in nature. It's a mediation opportunity, and those discussions are private. It wouldn't do either party any good if that information was shared outside of that discussion. It doesn't help anybody's case. It doesn't help the situation. That's to try to come to a appropriate agreement between the two parties. It's not a non-disclosure. It's about having those discussions back and forth and being able to find a reasonable and acceptable way to make the family whole again, but it's not the same for every family. So if we don't have that agreement for the privacy, then we run into where every family just does the same thing, and it doesn't allow us to have that one-on-one discussion in private where every situation can be handled different.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So I understand. I feel like that would, although we'll get an online question and then we'll come back, but I feel like that should be something that everybody should be getting the same sort of treatment, same sort of results at the end of the day. But sorry, Mayor, yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, it's a confidentiality agreement so that the negotiations can be done in good faith, where you're not going to, and every situation is different. So I've been here for 3 months, and every family situation is different. None of them are the same. And, somebody that's out of their house for a year and a half is going to get something different than a family that's out for 30 days.
Right.
So it really, there is no one, hey, here, this cookie cutter fits all family. So thanks, Mike. And we will go online question. If you have another one, we'll come back to you.
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, this one is for MWR. When is the movie theater on Post going to open? We missed Wakanda forever.
Well, that's, so actually.
Oh, that's not MWR, I apologize.
So that is, Alex is over there somewhere.
Okay, great, I apologize.
Hold on a second. Hey, my apologies. So for those online or those that came in a little bit later, we have both our partners from AFES. Alex is standing up now, and DECA, Bill, sitting there with our teammates. So thank you both, gentlemen, for coming this evening. But if you have questions for AFES or DECA, please add them on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, the movie theater will not be reopening. Just like what George had mentioned earlier, the movie theater was frequently patronized, and it was a losing business. And unfortunately, it affected the dividends that we're giving to the NWR to support the quality of life program. So unfortunately, it will not be reopening.
Sir, I apologize, since I have your attention, there's another one that I believe falls in your lane. As far as Wells Gym, is it going to be reopening? Nope. My bad, I apologize.
So again, Wells Fieldhouse does fall under MWR. Right now, Wells Fieldhouse is available for sign up for the key for your unit PT or any other events you may have there. We just have to have someone sign for the key. We will not be manning the gym as of right now. And I will tell you that between September 21 to, well, in the month of September, we went from 21 authorizations in fitness down to 7. Okay.
He's talking about manpower. In other words, we lost 2/3 of our authorization for manpower.
Right, and so that's why we're just signing out the key. And so the gym is kept up, it's cleaned, I think, daily. And then we'll go back and just check out the condition of the gym, but you just sign up for the key, especially for PT in the morning if you want to use the gym, absolutely. But at night, we do have CYS basketball in there currently, and I think our varsity men's basketball use it as well. And then Sunday, the Colonel likes this, is volleyball, 10 to 12 on Sunday. So it is kind of open, but if you want to do something, you can sign for the key.
Do you have the point of contact? Who do they get a hold of to sign for the key, George?
So it will be Justin Fitzgerald. I don't have his phone number here, but I do have my admin's number, and that's 703-805-2532, and we'll give you Justin's email and phone number so you can go ahead and make that reservation.
I couldn't write that down. That was too fast for me.
Sorry, sir. 703-805-2532.
And that's to reserve the Wells Fieldhouse?
Yes, sir.
Okay, George. Do you want to talk a little bit about the other gyms?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what I think the Colonel specifically is talking about, so a year ago, and I was just talking to Karen because we were supposed to have a command IPR for the run on Saturday, but the Colonel came early and I missed it. And so did Paul, because I saw him on the parking lot. Anyway, we were just talking that Specker Fieldhouse is celebrating its 1-year anniversary. And it's about 26,000 square feet that we made it functional fitness. If you remember, we had Carmar Human Performance Center that was open, and we moved that over to Specker. Then we did have 24/7, and we needed an upgrade to our software and our hardware, and the hardware specifically is our doors. And unfortunately, when we went to the NEC to say, hey, we want to go back on the backbone, there's a bunch of code that has to be written so that 24/7 and your ID cards can be read so that nobody can do something to get onto the backbone of the deck and do something to the network. It is a lengthy process, okay? And we've had a few conversations with the Colonel and the Garrison Commander because on a weekly basis they're asking me for an update. They've even involved the Garrison IT officer, and she's involved with IMCOM G6, IMCOM G9, so there's a lot of people involved with this. And I tell you, here at Fort Belvoir, we do everything right compared to, I think, the rest of the Army. Because you will hear there's a couple locations that do have 24/7. But I promise you, it is coming. So one of the other questions that was asked on ICE was, why don't we outfit Specker with more traditional like treadmills, ellipticals, sit-down bikes, and things of that nature? Well, our goal with Specker Fieldhouse was to get the soldier ready for the Army Combat Fitness Test and to have that training ability and to have Karen there and to have Sheila there that can help with your PT in the morning. For those of you that have been there between 5 and 8 o'clock, it's packed. The lanes are packed. And so we know it's being used. Now, I know we were getting some nice comments about the hours of operation on Saturday and Sunday. We hope to have some relief here shortly. Now, that could be stopped in a moment's notice, but we've asked for 2 additional people, okay, to help expand those hours. One of the other options is to see if we couldn't take some of our recreational specialist and open up for some additional hours, but we've got to work that through. But 24/7, I promise you, is coming. We are getting new doors at Graves, so we'll have 2 locations. Both the body shop at some point will open up 24/7, and Graves Fitness Center will open up as 24/7. But at the end of the day, we only really need one, and everything you need is at Graves as well. I mean, you could do functional fitness at Graves as well. We have the rail system there as well. So, thank you, sir.
Take just one quick second about Wells that everyone may like to know. 3 days a week, it's also open in the morning for spin. We took a couple weeks off recently, but that's another plug for the Digital Garrison. It has the schedule for the spin classes at Wells Gym on Digital Garrison.
The bottom line of what George is saying is we're fighting at the 3-star level to get the system in place so that we can go to 24/7 at both the body shop and Specker Fieldhouse. Thank you. Graves. I lied. I said it wrong.
Do we have a question there, or are we back on?
I think we're back out here.
Did you have something else? Okay.
Question online? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.
My name is Minnie Shirley. I am one of the displaced families. So I just had a couple, or 3 questions to be exact. This question is for Ms. Hudson and Ms. Lester. What resources are available to displaced families, and how are they being informed of this?
So, I'm not sure, I guess, I don't think I understand your question.
So like displacement packets, and I guess like the policies and procedures of when a family is displaced, or is that a question more for Mr. Allen?
So at the beginning of displacement, there is a trifold provided that covers our displacement policy. Additionally, there's some paperwork that's provided and needs to be signed that covers kind of what to expect. When we do the scope of work meeting, we go a little more in detail as well. And generally, that's the best time to get into specific questions, because every family has questions when they're going to be out of their home.
Absolutely. No, I was just making sure because I had never received that displacement trifold, so I just wanted to make sure other families get the information they deserve to, because they won't be in their homes. They deserve to know everything that they're entitled to.
Absolutely, thank you. We'll make sure that we talk to our team and see if there was an oversight, you didn't get it, then that's good feedback, and I appreciate that.
Ma'am, before you go any further, I'm sorry that you're having to go through that, right? So for those that don't know, or those online that don't understand, what Ms. Shirley is talking about is there's been an issue in her home that we've determined it isn't safe for her and her family to stay there. So we have moved her into, are you in a hospitality suite, ma'am?
No, I've been in a hotel for over 3 months.
You're in a hotel, and so we've moved her out of her house. And when you started that question, I actually think it's a great question, but goes beyond just the information. And maybe it's something where we put together, the Garrison puts together a package for our displaced families as they're moving out of their homes, whether it's a welcome package into the hospitality suite or the hotel room. It's a terrible situation, right? It's not good for anybody. It's not good for us. And we want to make sure that you're as comfortable and happy as possible. So I think, Jen, maybe we look at what we can do for the families as they're being displaced, including ensuring that they get all the information. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Shirley, but go ahead, your next question.
No problem at all. The next question is, are there going to be any policies or procedures changing with displacement as far as, I guess, anything and everything? I just didn't know if there were going to be any changes, especially with the amount of displaced families, if any adjustments are going to be made.
Good question, and we are taking a look overall at our displacement policies to see if there are any adjustments needed.
Okay, and then will the families also be informed of these changes? Will it be posted on the Belvoir public page, or how exactly would you go about announcing those changes?
The trifold will absolutely be updated, and it'll be covered again in the scope of work meeting. And then we can look to push it out on one call if we think that would be effective.
Okay. And then last question, Mr. Ellen, how are you handling vendors or contractors that are not completing remediation to standard?
Again, that's kind of one of those things that we're talking about. I would want to talk about specific references. So I've got teammates that are ready to talk to you about anything specific having to do with a situation like that. I can tell you that we have a lot of compliance and oversight to include multiple inspections by the garrison, and not the garrison personally, but teammates from the garrison, representatives of the garrison, to make sure that, we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, that our vendors are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Zach, I'm going to push a little bit. I'm going to put you on the spot. If we had a vendor that is not complying to the standard or is, I don't know what the right word is, isn't doing the job as you expect, how would you handle that company, the subcontractor, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as with anything, when we're talking, whether it be an employee or a vendor or whatever, right, there's got to be clear communication. First of all, the problem has to be identified, has to have a conversation. Typically with our vendors, we serve a corrective action notice. If we have situations where we find any type of extreme problem, right? That vendor will no longer work here. We have let vendors go historically. We do appreciate feedback from the families when there's a situation where they feel like the vendor hasn't done it right. We will make sure to investigate it. And again, we like our vendors, we appreciate them, we need them, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of vendors out there, and if there's a vendor that's not living up to the standard that's expected, they won't work here anymore.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Sir, did you have a question, or are we going to go online? Go ahead, please.
My name is Uncle Scott Chess. I live in Woodlawn. You guys are inheriting a lot of baggage. I'm sure you're probably getting that sense from a prior housing company was abysmal, and you guys have only been there since summertime. Is that correct? So when your company took control.
Roughly, yes, sir. What was your name again, sir? I'm sorry.
Uncle Scott Chess.
Thank you, sir.
Your resident survey, this is a common problem, not getting a lot of feedback, only because apathy is kind of like voting. People just don't think anything's going to change, so you're not getting a whole lot of feedback on that, and it's double-edged sword to cutting off our nose to spite our face by not taking care of that. For work orders, this is still kind of an ongoing problem. If it's something, the general sense of most all residents I tend to talk with, if it takes more than 5 minutes or $5 to fix, it's something that's going to take a little bit of time, there's not feedback. Work orders can routinely get closed out with no notice, opening back up multiple times, or telling no, reopen this particular work order if you still happen to have, the work order number with you. It's an ongoing problem. Sometimes we get the runaround with work orders are going to take a fair amount of time. For example, the light, which first of all, I very much appreciate that's being worked, because that's been an issue for a very long time. I've had that work order closed out more than half a dozen times. For 9 months straight, we were told through the mayor that housing had to figure out which ones you owned and which ones belonged to the power company. And it feels like a runaround when you're doing that for 9 months. And how long does it take to figure out which light poles you own? So from a resident's perspective, that's the perception. And I think a lot of it stems from lack of communication, because if we have to call and follow up on stuff that's going to take a fair amount of time, we're not getting any feedback. And you may be working on our behalf, but our perception is nothing is being done. So I'm going to grant you that I can't see behind the curtain. Communication on that needs to improve a fair amount, in my opinion. I did have one aspect, and this kind of goes to the garrison as well. There's 2 gates in Woodlawn. I know there was a security or safety issues, commented recently. Along lines of safety, that other gate being closed, we don't have to go through any checkpoints. So that gate is pretty much useless in the sense that I see people jump all the time. I live right by that gate, so I see people jump the gate all the time. Obviously, vehicles can't go through it. But you force all the vehicle traffic from that side of Woodlawn to cut across Dairy Court, where the majority of kids are getting picked up and dropped off and stuff. So if that gate can be opened certain times of day, because if you're having patrols come through, maybe they could open it up at like 06 and close it at 1900, with the patrol on the way out kind of thing. So it's not open 24/7, which is fine, because a lot of vehicle traffic is pushed across, Dairy Court, in front of the housing office. I think it would be a lot safer if the half the cars weren't driving, through the most densely, trafficked areas for kids.
I love the feedback. Is there any reason we can't open that other gate? First of all, before I do that, I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell the village mayors. You're one voice, and there may be lots of people who say, we don't want that to be an access gate. We like the way it is. So we like it the way it is. So I'd want to make sure that we were doing what the majority of the folks in that area wanted to do, and not just react to what you're saying.
Yeah, a survey of the residents of the village is very reasonable.
Roger. So I would like to know, DES, if there's any reason we couldn't open it, and then why was it closed in the first place? And then I would want to do some sort of survey to make sure that we're not reacting to an individual and that it's the voice of the community. Over.
Thank you, sir. I'm not quite sure exactly what gate you're actually talking about. Are you talking about the one closest to?
Well, not as two gates. It's the one as far as away from, main post. Yeah, it's because
Closest to Well House Court.
Yeah, closest to Well House, that gate. The reason, sir, and sorry, that we've been given, it has to do with busing, and if the bus is going to drive a certain distance, they won't provide the buses, to come pick up kids to go to school. I don't know if that's an urban legend or not. It doesn't, but that's the reason we've been told. Whether or not that's been validated, I don't know.
I would probably have to defer that to my physical security. I've been here for a long time, and I do know at one point that gate, how it exited off into traffic was deemed a little bit not safe. So they kind of closed it. That was one of the reasons. I don't want to speculate, and I guess our physical security probably would have a better answer, but I do know that was one of the reasons why, because of coming out of that into ongoing traffic, so they really didn't want to.
It sounds like we have a request for information that the sergeant major is going to take, and we would need to look if when it was open, there were a lot of accidents because people were trying to take a left turn and too much traffic. We'll take a look at it. I think it's a great comment. Thank you. Something online?
So
really quick before we go any further. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I wanted to touch base on both the survey piece and the work order closure piece. So my office is located at 12th Street. If you're not getting what you need from your community manager, right, feel free to stop by anytime, right? I'm not the best first line of defense for every problem, but I promise you that I will take it seriously and work your issue, okay? So if that is happening, please do come and talk to me about it. My door is open. I meet with residents frequently. I meet with CSM to talk about residents frequently. I meet with Alicia or Jen to talk about residents frequently. I do want you to fill out the survey though, right? That is a bird's eye view as opposed to, hey, here's this one situation. There's times that we need specifics, like which work orders were closed out, right? And is there a specific village that's seeing trends or a technician or whatever? And then there's times that we need an overall gut check, right? How are we doing overall? What things do we need to focus on for training? What things do we need to make sure that we have checks and balances in place for? And I take the closure of work orders very seriously. We report numbers, right, to the garrison. The garrison reports numbers on the work orders, and we want the work orders to go down. We don't want a bunch of H work orders, but we don't ever want to do that without having resolved the issue. And I would really prefer to your satisfaction, not just having resolved the issue to that technician that was there or that vendor that was there satisfaction. So please, do meet with your community manager, right? If you have specifics, if that's happened in your home, have your neighbors talk to your community manager. Come to 12th Street. If I'm not there, Jennifer will be. If Jennifer's not there, likely Kim will be. We do want to talk about those issues. So thank you for bringing it up, and I do appreciate the feedback, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I think she's ready to ask one, and then I'll come to you, ma'am.
So this is the caveat off of the work orders. This is from Ms. Megan Del Soros. can we start getting more accurate work order communications from beginning to end? There have been times where technicians have shown up to my home without being notified.
Okay, it took me a minute without being
No,
notified. Yeah, got it. Yes, that's part of the initiative of the Warm Call Wednesdays, right? Like, we're going to be focusing not only on, because part of the feedback that we heard from the mayors was, you know, hey, the vendor came out and I didn't like what they did. They didn't do it right, or I wasn't happy with it, right? Good feedback. So we are going to be focusing on closed work orders, as well as aged work orders, to be able to provide timelines and updates to families to let them know, you know, hey, we have not forgotten about this issue. We are still working it. We expect to have it resolved around X date. So that is part of that initiative, and they should be getting phone calls. And if they're not, follow the levels of escalation. We have an assistant community director and a community director that are always willing to take a phone call.
Thank you.
Ms. Bragg? And then, sir, you're standing up. Do you have a question also? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go, just so we're getting short on time. Ms. Bragg, sir, I don't know your name, gentlemen, and then one more online. We'll do 3 more. Go ahead, ma'am.
All right, I'm back. So my question is, especially on work orders, I think everybody knows here, I keep it 100 all the time, and I have an issue with the last two answers that our families just got. I have a work order that I requested on Monday from you, Mr. Allen. It is strikingly different from my work order history online. Why are they different? The one that you gave me is missing very vital issues that the next family who moves into my home needs to know for full transparency. So if yours is different from the one that I have, my question is, how is that? And do you have the option to alter work histories? And if you do, Colonel Messina, do you have a plan in place to combat that issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's one of those specific issues that I was talking about. We've got teammates ready to talk about that, and we'd be happy to talk with you about it after as well.
Mr. Allen, we're at a town hall. If I wanted to talk to one of your teammates, respectfully, I don't have an issue with any of you, I would have sent them an email. I came here today for transparency. I think everybody here came here for transparency. I don't think there's a family here or a person here that wants to have a sidebar conversation. We all want transparency. And if you can't offer that to me, Mr. Allen.
No, he can, and here's how he can do it. What I'd like you to do is can you send me the one that you received?
Yeah.
And then we can take a look at what's online, if you want to take a picture of it, or however you want to identify that one is one and the other one is different, the discrepancy. First of all, I don't have a plan because it's the first time I've heard the issue. But I can come up with a plan, and my team can come up with a plan to address it. But what I think Zach is saying is, it's a specific issue to you as far as we know. There may be others, but show me what you're talking about, and we'll address it directly with our partner.
Respectfully, Colonel Messina, with as severe as my situation is, for those of you who don't know, I've been displaced for 122 days. And with the amounts of senators and attorneys that have their scope on my situation, I can't imagine what a family that doesn't have the same attention that my family has. I can imagine what their work order history looks like. So I'm glad that I brought it to your attention, and maybe a plan in the future could be that Mr. Allen provides his 7-year work history, and then the Garrison team compares to make sure that the incoming families are getting a transparent history of the homes that they're moving into.
Absolutely. I mean, you should get a complete history. There shouldn't be 2 histories. That's why send me what you have directly. You have my email address.
Absolutely.
And let's just take a look at what the issue is and identify where the problem is and where the gap is, and then we'll fix it. And if anybody else out there has an issue with their work order history, you think there's an issue, just send us the information. I would ask that you go through housing. You can send it to me directly. You have my email address. But for all the rest of the folks out there that don't, send it through the proper channels to our ombuds person or Jen, our housing director, and we'll take a look at it and make sure that it's correct. There shouldn't be 2 histories. I completely agree with you. And if it's a systemic problem, maybe there's a system issue. We'll figure that out. And if it's not a systemic problem, then we'll fix the eaches. But I agree with you. It needs to be one.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am. And I think, sir?
Good evening, sir.
I think you're off.
Can you hear me now?
Give it 1 second. It takes a second to load, kind of.
Can you hear me now? I'm Eric, Doe Creek, formerly George Washington. We've talked a lot tonight about mold and how we're trying to find a standard, an industry standard that is. I'm curious what kind of mitigation efforts you're putting forth for people that vacate homes. Are you checking for mold? Are you inspecting before you place people in there? And the second part of the question is, are you putting families in there without any remediation being complete or an IH report being done?
So every home when it's vacated, before it's vacated, if you've done a transfer or a move out personally,
Yeah.
you have, so then you probably, what time frame was it?
August?
August? If it was a transfer, I'm not 100% sure if it happened, but before every move out, we have a pre-move out inspection done, right? So the community management as well as part of the environmental team come, and they check the hotspot areas that you would normally find in the water source areas, in the HVAC, things like that, right? If there is anything that needs done in a vacant home in between occupants, it is 100% taken care of. Not every home is inspected by the IH. Every transfer home is inspected by the IH. And every home before anybody can occupy it is inspected by a Garrison Quality Assurance inspector to make sure that it was done to the standard.
Is that done every time?
The QA inspection?
The IH inspection?
The IH inspection, no, sir.
No. And
The
what do
QA
you,
is.
What exactly are you doing when you're checking for mold or moisture in the home? So you're using moisture readers, or you're just doing visual inspections? How are you inspecting behind walls, under the floors, and such like that?
Yeah, great question. We utilize FLIR imaging cameras, and also the moisture meters. We check the places that you would typically find elevated moisture. The biggest thing that we're looking for is elevated moisture, right? If there's a water source, you're gonna run into problems. So we check in the areas that you would expect to see that, in between the tub and the toilet, the drywall surrounding the exterior of the shower around laundry areas. And then we look visually in the HVAC. We also look for any type, because often when you have a leak, it's evident that there's damage, right? Drywall bubbles, the floor may be peeling up. Our teams look for that too. And then again, prior to the move-in, that's part of what the QA is looking at when they're clearing the house.
Yeah, so with that being said, we should see a downtick in environmental issues in homes, correct? Because you're putting forth that effort to mitigate these issues, so we should see less people encountering mold, correct? In the future? Would that be an accurate assumption?
That's a really hard question to answer, sir. There's a lot of factors that could lead to an environmental situation within a home. We, as the villages, our vendors, the Garrison, their QA and IH teams, are doing everything that we can to effectively get after. We talk frequently about long-term mitigation ideas, right? And like what type of efforts can be made in the future and currently to try to mitigate any problems now or later. It is always a talking point.
Yeah. In a way, I agree with Zach because there's so many other factors. Think about the weather, right? If you and your family and it's 80 degrees out and it's humid as heck and you leave the door open, I can't control that. If you take a shower and you don't put on the vent, and families do that, or you have kids and they splash and there's water on the floor and you don't wipe it up immediately, which happens. Like I said, I have 5 kids. If you're not doing those things, and we'll push out the TTPs, the tactics, techniques and procedures, best practices to try to mitigate it, but to say that they would definitely come down, I can't do that. That would be, I'd be lying to you.
And I understand that, but just based on my encounter and my experience, it took me fighting and having to show up on offices to actually get the situation we were in taken seriously, much like I know other people have. And I feel like if we're doing the proper mitigation for it, like we're going to homes before people are moved into it and checking for them, we would see less environmental issues. I mean, to me, that would actually occur, and I just don't think we're seeing it. I think we're seeing a large uptick or more identification of the issues, but I know it's a widespread issue. Like, mold is very common here, and we keep hearing more and more about it. I just want to know that we're taking it seriously and
We are, and I'll also tell you that I have talked to General Jones, the IMCOM commander, and starting in January, IMCOM is going to put out an Army-wide mold mitigation plan across the Army, because it's not an issue just here. I mean, we have barracks of soldiers being moved out of Bragg and Fort Benning, and all of the other garrison commanders have the same issues. It's more here right now. But I will tell you, the assessment might be off a little bit. We got up to 20 families displaced. We've cut that in half. I think as of today, we're at nine families. That's not good. That's not good. And I'm not bragging about that, but we're doing everything we can right now to ensure that our family's safe. That's my primary concern. And that's why, if the issue is going to last, we're going to move you out of the house, because we want to make sure you're in a safe place. So I apologize to all the families that are displaced. It's not what we want. We want to take care of all of our families on post. But mold is a fact of life, and there are too many factors to say that just doing an inspection between move-ins is going to bring that number down. There's more to it, but a great question. I think we're going to take one more online. Wait, before you do that, if you have additional questions, please write them down. I see hands up there, and we don't want to ignore them. But I did, before you came in, I think you guys were a little bit late. I did say I was going to try to have a hard stop at 7:30. I have a lot of civilian employees, and I want to respect everybody's time here tonight. So if you have additional questions, just write them down. If you want to send them to me, that's fine. Send them to Jen or Alicia. But please go ahead with the next question.
Was that geared towards us or you?
So I think it's geared towards both, but I think when she says we, I think she means me, Ms. Hudson, the Garrison Command Team, and then I believe the second part for the subcontractor would have to go to you, because we don't subcontract.
Right.
We don't subcontract anyway.
Yeah, no, and I agree. That's, I would not want a subcontractor coming to my home with their grandparents, right? That would be a little awkward, and I would love to talk to that resident. I'm sure you got their contact info to hear who that was and make sure that that is handled appropriately with that vendor.
I wonder if the question was, I had my grandparents in the house and a subcontractor came unannounced, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering. It was. The subcontractor came to the house with their grandparents in tow.
And not in uniforms.
Okay, so first of all, absolutely not okay. And I think earlier Zach mentioned that every contractor, before they come, there should be a call to inform the family that somebody's coming. Is that correct?
Yeah, our maintenance office reaches
Right, so there should be no surprises. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Right. The standard is, because I'm getting, the hey, that doesn't happen. My experience is a little bit different. We do have folks call. I had a contractor out today. I'm looking at my wife, she's over there. We had somebody out today to fix a couple of outlets, is that correct? Right. So what we want is for the procedure to be consistent. I think that's the common thing that I'm hearing is that we're not always getting that call. We're not always getting notified that a contractor is on the way. And obviously, I think the grandparents thing is a one-off, and that, if, Alicia, if we can identify who the family was, maybe we can identify who the subcontractor was and get to the bottom of that issue directly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Was there a second part of the question that I didn't answer? I'm sorry.
I think that was the first part was what are we doing, and then and hey, to double tap on that, like, I don't want any of my contractors showing up not in uniform, right, of some type, even if it's a t-shirt with their company name on it. I want them to be identified. I want them to be recognizable. I would prefer their vehicle be wrapped. We do have magnets that we provide vendors when we notice that they're not wrapped. I would prefer that they call in advance, and if those things aren't happening regularly, and if there are issues that are happening we're never going to be perfect, right? There's always room for growth. B, we want to make sure that our team and our subcontractors are held to a high standard. So when it isn't happening, please bubble it up. Again, my email is not hard to figure out, right? Zach Allen, first name, first initial, last name at tmo.com. Feel free to email me. Again, I'm not the best first line of defense on these things, but we want to know about these things. I don't want that happening. I don't want to have to hear from a family that a vendor showed up with their grandparents there and no identifiable, logo or anything on their clothing. That's not acceptable to me either. I wouldn't accept that at my own home, and I don't expect the families to accept that. We will aggressively get after that situation. And make sure that we bring our vendors in and talk to them. We do that often too. If we find an issue like that and there's something that is, hey, something happened that was outside of the lines to the point that we need to bring all our vendors in that we deal with and have a conversation about the standards that we expect them to follow. It happens, and we will do that. So thank you for the feedback.
Okay. So we're a little bit after 7:30. I apologize for going a little bit long. I think it is important to hear from all of the families. If you did not get your question in, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, you can go on the Facebook Town Hall event page and go to #AskBelvoir. That's one way. The other way is to talk to your village mayors. I keep harping on that. These guys do a ton of extra work above and beyond completely as volunteers, and they are aggressive and they are amazing advocates for you, and I appreciate that aggressiveness and the passion that they have for making your community better. Seriously. I just kind of want to end with, I am extremely honored and proud to be the garrison commander here. This installation and the people and the units that we have on this installation are amazing. Heather and I run around the space in the morning, and we are amazed at what a beautiful place it is. Again, it's hard for me to express how much I appreciate being here with all of you. I appreciate all of the comments, positive and negative. And the only way we get better is by identifying all the issues and problems. Will they all get fixed? No. We know they won't. Sometimes it comes down to manpower. Sometimes it comes down to money and priorities. Other times it's, you might have an issue, but your neighbor feels just the opposite. So sometimes we have to look at the whole picture. I can't just look at one person's issue or complaint. I have to see how that affects everybody, and sometimes hard decisions have to be made. And that's my job, and I relish it, to be honest with you. I want to thank all of our partners for being here tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, all of everybody that put this together, ladies up in the booth there, Jen, Zach, Sergeant Major, PAO, for putting everything together. Again, if you have questions, put them online. Thanks to our Michaels partners for being here tonight. I appreciate that also. Army Strong, and for all of those, please be safe over the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope that your turkey, if you have one, is plump and juicy. However you celebrate, please be safe, take care of your families, enjoy your time off. Thank you very much.